Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Moments. I'm Elena, your host. I am absolutely thrilled to begin a massive new journey with you today. We are embarking on our most ambitious project yet. In our previous lessons, we mastered the mechanics of grammar and the tricky world of phrasal verbs. But today we level up. We are stepping into the sophisticated, colorful, and often confusing world of English idioms and advanced collocations. Why is this important? You see, you can know all the grammar rules in the world, but if you walk into a business meeting in New York, London, or Sydney, and you don't understand what it means to play hardball or cut corners, you are going to be lost. These phrases are the cultural glue that holds the language together. They add flavor, emotion, and precision to your speech. If you have ever felt confused when your colleagues laughed at a joke you didn't understand, or if you have ever felt your English sounds a bit too robotic, this masterclass is exactly what you need. We are going to learn over 60 of these essential phrases, but we aren't going to memorize boring lists. Our brains hate lists. Our brains love stories. So we are going to learn these phrases by following the intense, high-stakes story of a man named Jason. Jason is a man who decides to escape the corporate grind to chase a dream. Through his successes, his failures, and his moments of panic, we will learn how to speak about ambition, money, stress, strategy, and leadership. I want you to treat this audio experience like a workshop. I will be narrating the story, but I will frequently pause the action to act as your personal language coach. We will dissect the vocabulary, I will explain the history behind the words, and most importantly, I will ask you to shadow me. I want you to speak out loud. When I give you a sentence, say it. Feel the rhythm of the words in your mouth. This is how we move these words from your passive memory into your active vocabulary. So please, silence your phones, focus your mind, grab a cup of coffee, and let's begin the story of the big break. Our story opens on a rainy Monday morning in Seattle. The city was covered in a gray blanket of fog. Jason sat at his desk on the 12th floor of a massive software company called Tech Global. The fluorescent lights hummed above his head, a sound he had grown to hate. It was a buzzing sound that seemed to drill right into his brain. Jason stared at his computer screen, scrolling through lines of code, but he wasn't really seeing them. He felt a deep sense of exhaustion in his bones. He felt like he was stuck in the rat race. Let's pause right here at our first major idiom, the rat race. This is a vivid and slightly negative phrase used to describe a way of life in which people are caught up in a fiercely competitive struggle for wealth or power. The image here is powerful. Imagine a laboratory rat running on a spinning wheel. The rat runs faster and faster, sweating and working hard, but it never actually goes anywhere. It stays in the same cage. That is the rat race. It refers to the exhausting, repetitive routine of working, commuting, paying bills, and doing it all again the next day, without feeling like you are achieving your dreams. You might hear people say, I want to get out of the rat race and move to a farm. Or, living in New York City is exciting, but it's a real rat race. Jason felt he had been running in this rat race for 5 years. He drove an hour in traffic every morning, worked 9 hours, and drove home. He was a talented coder, perhaps one of the best in his department. But his creativity was being stifled. He felt like a small cog in a big machine. This is another fantastic metaphor that is essential for business English. A cog is one of those little teeth on a gear wheel inside a clock or an engine. A single cog is necessary, but it is tiny. It just turns and turns because the machine tells it to. If you describe yourself as a small cog in a big machine, you are saying that you feel insignificant. You feel like a tiny, unimportant part of a large organization where your individual voice doesn't matter. Jason didn't want to be a cog anymore. He wanted to be the engine. He wanted to drive the car. He took a sip of his lukewarm coffee and looked around the office. Everyone else looked just as tired as he was. He knew he had a great idea for a new mobile app, a revolutionary way to organize remote work teams. But he had been sitting on it for months. To sit on an idea, a report, or information means to delay taking action on it. It implies you possess something valuable, but you are doing nothing with it. You are just sitting there, holding it back. You might hear a boss say, "Why have you been sitting on this report for a week?" In Jason's case, he was sitting on his app idea because he was afraid. Leaving his stable job would be a huge risk. If he quit, he would lose his salary, his health insurance, and his security. If his business failed, he would have nothing. He would have to start from scratch. Let's look at this phrase, start from scratch. It means to begin from the very beginning with absolutely nothing. The origin of this phrase comes from the world of sports, specifically cricket or running, dating back to the 18th century. A line was scratched into the dirt or grass to mark the starting point for a race. If you had no advantage, you started from the scratch line. Today, we use it whenever we have to rebuild something. If you write an essay and lose the file, you have to write it again from scratch. If you bake a cake using raw ingredients like flour and eggs, rather than a pre-made mix, you are baking it from scratch. Jason knew that if he quit, he would be building his life again from zero, from scratch. I want you to practice this feeling of hesitation and the pronunciation of the consonant cluster SCR in scratch. It's SCR, scratch. Now, shadow this sentence with me to lock it into your memory. I have a great idea, but I'm terrified to start from scratch. Go ahead, say it out loud. I'm terrified to start from scratch. Excellent. Just then, his thoughts were interrupted. His boss, Mr. Sterling, walked past his desk. Mr. Sterling was a man who always looked like he had just drunk a glass of lemon juice, sour, unhappy, and critical. He tapped his knuckles on Jason's desk. "Jason," he barked, "I need that quarterly report by noon, and make sure the data is accurate. Don't cut corners." To cut corners means to do something in the easiest, cheapest, or fastest way, often at the expense of high quality or safety rules. Imagine you are driving a car and you turn a corner too sharply to save time. You might crash. That is cutting corners. In business, this is a very negative accusation. If a construction company cuts corners, the building might be unsafe. If a chef cuts corners, the food might taste bad. Mr. Sterling was warning Jason to be thorough. Jason nodded, forcing a polite smile. "Yes, sir, I'll get it done properly." But inside, he was fuming. He was angry. He was tired of being bossed around by a man who didn't respect him. He watched Mr. Sterling walk away and realized something deep in his gut. He realized that if he wanted to change his life, He had to stop waiting. He had to bite the bullet. This is one of the most famous idioms in the English language, to bite the bullet. It means to force yourself to do something unpleasant or difficult, or to be brave in a difficult situation. The history of this phrase is quite gruesome. Before effective anesthetics like ether or chloroform were commonly used in field medicine, surgeons on the battlefield had no way to stop the pain during emergency amputations. To stop the soldier from screaming or biting off their own tongue from the pain, the doctor would give them a leather strap or a lead bullet to bite down on. They had to bite the bullet and endure the pain. Today, thankfully, we use it for less painful situations. You might have to bite the bullet and pay your expensive taxes. You might have to bite the bullet and apologize to someone you don't like. For Jason, he decided he would bite the bullet and resign. Not today, but soon. He couldn't live like a cog forever. That evening, the rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet and reflective. Jason met his best friend Maya at a local diner called the Midnight Spoon. Maya was the complete opposite of Jason. While Jason was quiet and analytical, Maya was energetic, loud, and eternally optimistic. She was a marketing genius who, as the saying goes, could sell ice to a polar bear. Maya slid into the booth opposite Jason and took one look at his face. "Wow," she said. "You look terrible. You look like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders." This is a very expressive idiom. To have the weight of the world on your shoulders means to appear very burdened by problems, worry, or responsibility. It refers to the Greek myth of Atlas, the Titan who was punished by Zeus and forced to hold up the celestial heavens, the world, on his shoulders for eternity. When you feel stressed and responsible for everything, you feel like Atlas. Jason sighed and rubbed his face. "I feel like it, Maya. I can't do it anymore. I hate the rat race." He proceeded to tell her about his day, about Mr. Sterling's comments, and finally, he told her about the app idea he had been sitting on. He explained the concept of a platform that used AI to match freelancers with short-term corporate projects instantly. Maya listened, sipping her milkshake. As Jason spoke, her eyes started to widen. She put her drink down. "Jason," she said seriously, "you have been sitting on this? This idea is a gold mine." A gold mine is a metaphor for something that produces a lot of wealth or valuable information. It comes from the literal mine where you dig for gold. If a business idea is a gold mine, it has the potential to make you very rich. You might say, "That new real estate investment is a gold mine." "You really think so?" Jason asked, feeling a glimmer of hope. "I know so," Maya said, leaning across the table. "The market is desperate for this. But listen to me. You have to get the ball rolling. You can't just dream about it forever." To get the ball rolling means to set an activity or process in motion. It means to start. Imagine a large, heavy ball. It takes a lot of effort to push it to start moving, but once it is rolling, it is easier to keep it going. Maya was telling him to take that first hard push. "How do we start?" Jason asked. "You need a business plan," she said, "and you need a partner who knows how to sell. You need me. Let's put our heads together." To put our heads together means to consult and work together to solve a problem. It implies close collaboration. The image is of two people leaning in close over a table to whisper and plan. "Okay," Jason said, a smile finally breaking across his face. "Let's do it. But we have to keep this under wraps for now. I don't want Mr. Sterling or anyone at Tech Global to find out until we are ready." To keep something under wraps means to keep it secret or concealed. The origin comes from horse racing again, specifically wrapping a horse's legs in bandages to hide an injury, or perhaps hiding a new invention under a cloth cover. Jason wanted to develop the project in secret. "Agreed," Maya said, "but we need to work fast. The tech world is dog-eat-dog." A dog-eat-dog world is a situation of fierce competition where people are willing to harm each other to succeed. It paints a picture of a ruthless, savage environment where only the strongest survive. Maya was warning him that it wouldn't be easy. People would try to steal their idea or crush them. "I know," Jason said. "I'm ready. I'm willing to go the extra mile." To go the extra mile means to make a special effort to achieve something, to do more than is expected. This phrase actually has biblical origins, referring to a law that allowed a Roman soldier to force a local person to carry their gear for 1 mile. The advice was to go 2 miles, the extra mile, to show generosity and spirit. Today, it just means working very hard. Jason was willing to work nights and weekends. They spent the next 3 hours brainstorming on paper napkins, sketching out logos and features. By the time they left the diner, it was midnight. Jason walked to his car, but he didn't feel tired. He felt electric. He knew he was about to burn the candle at both ends. To burn the candle at both ends means to exhaust yourself by doing too much, especially getting up early to work and going to bed late to work. If you light a candle at the top and the bottom, it creates twice as much light, but the wax disappears twice as fast. Jason knew he would be working his day job at Tech Global and his startup at night. It would be exhausting, but for the first time in years, he felt alive. 3 weeks had passed since that night at the diner. For Jason, the transition had been a steep learning curve. Let's stop at that phrase, a learning curve. This refers to the rate of a person's progress in gaining experience or new skills. If you plot it on a graph, a steep curve means there is a huge amount of information to learn in a very short time. It is difficult. Jason was a coder, not a businessman. He understood algorithms, but he didn't understand profit margins, equity splits, or venture capital. Learning how to run a business was a steep learning curve for him. He felt overwhelmed, but Maya coached him every day. They stood in the elevator of a glass skyscraper in downtown Seattle, rising to the 30th floor. Jason adjusted his tie in the reflection of the metal doors. He was sweating. "Relax," Maya said, fixing his collar. "We just need to make sure we are on the same page before we go in." To be on the same page means to agree on something or to share the same understanding of a situation. It comes from the idea of a choir or a class reading from a book. If everyone is singing from page 5, but you are on page 10, the result is chaos. You need to be on the same page. Maya wanted to ensure their strategy was aligned, so they didn't contradict each other in the meeting. "I'm ready," Jason lied. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. They were led into a massive conference room with a floor-to-ceiling view of the entire city. Sitting at the head of the long mahogany table was Marcus Vance. Marcus Vance was a legend in the city. He was a venture capitalist known for being brilliant, wealthy, and intimidating. He didn't smile when they walked in. He didn't offer them coffee. He just looked at his expensive watch and said, "I have 20 minutes. Let's get down to business." To get down to business is a classic, essential phrase used to transition from small talk to the serious topic at hand. It signals that the social time is over and work is starting. It's a powerful phrase to use in a meeting if you want to take control. I want you to try saying this with authority. Imagine you are the boss. Shadow me. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get down to business. One more time. Let's get down to business. Jason sat down and opened his laptop to begin his presentation, but Marcus raised a hand to stop him. "I don't want a PowerPoint," Marcus said coldly. "Just cut to the chase." To cut to the chase means to get to the point immediately, leaving out unnecessary details or introductions. This idiom comes from the silent movie industry of the 1920s. Films often had romantic storylines that were boring, followed by an exciting car chase or foot chase. Studio executives would tell the directors to cut to the chase, skip the romance, and show the action. Marcus didn't want the background story. He wanted to know why he should invest. Jason swallowed hard. He had to pivot. He looked Marcus in the eye and explained the app simply. He explained how it solved a problem no one else was solving. He told Marcus that they were prepared to think outside the box. To think outside the box means to think creatively, exploring ideas that are unusual or not limited by tradition. It refers to a famous puzzle where you must connect 9 dots with 4 lines without lifting your pen. You can only do it if you draw the lines outside the imaginary box the dots create. Jason explained that their competitors were doing the same old thing, but his algorithm was completely different. Marcus listened, tapping his pen on the table. "Interesting," he said, "but can you corner the market?" To corner the market means to dominate a particular sector or industry so effectively that it is difficult for others to compete. If you corner the market on silver, you control the price of silver. If you corner the market on coffee in your town, everyone buys from you. "Yes," Maya stepped in confidently. "We believe we can capture 80% of local users within year 1 because our system is faster and cheaper." Marcus leaned back in his leather chair. "That's ambitious, but let's talk numbers. Give me a ballpark figure on your projected revenue for the first year." A ballpark figure is a rough numerical estimate. It doesn't have to be exact, but it has to be in the ballpark, the stadium. If the answer is 1 million and you say $5, you are not in the ballpark. If you say 800,000, you are in the ballpark. It implies an acceptable range of accuracy. Maya gave him the numbers. They were optimistic, but realistic. Marcus nodded slowly. "The numbers look okay," he said. "But you are asking for a lot of money for a first-time founder." "I'm going to play hardball." To play hardball means to act aggressively and unyieldingly in a political or business dispute. It implies that the person will not be nice. They will use every tactic to win. It refers to baseball, which is played with a hard ball, versus softball, which is gentler. Marcus looked at them with eyes like a shark. "I want 50% of the company," he said. Jason's heart stopped. 50%? That was half their business gone before they even started. He looked at Maya. They knew they couldn't accept that. It was unfair. They had to stand their ground. To stand one's ground means to maintain one's position in the face of opposition or attack. It comes from military history, refusing to retreat when the enemy charges. Jason had to be a soldier in this moment. "We can't do 50, Marcus," Jason said, his voice shaking slightly but gaining strength. "That's too high. We are doing all the work. We can offer 20%. Marcus laughed, a dry, humorless sound. 20? You're trying to twist my arm. To twist someone's arm means to pressure or persuade someone to do something they might not want to do. It's usually used metaphorically, though it evokes the physical pain of having your arm twisted behind your back. "We aren't twisting your arm," Maya said smoothly. "We are offering you a golden opportunity." The room went silent. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Marcus stared at Jason. Jason stared at Marcus. It was a standoff. Finally, Marcus cracked a small smile. "I like you two," he said. "You have guts. You didn't cave in." To cave in means to yield or submit under pressure. Like a roof collapsing, caving in, under weight, a person caves in when they lose their resolve. They hadn't let Marcus bully them. "But," Marcus continued, "I need to verify your tech. For now, the deal is up in the air." If a decision or plan is up in the air, it is uncertain or not yet decided. Imagine a ball thrown in the sky. You don't know where it will land yet. The deal wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no. "I will send my technical team to review your code next Friday," Marcus said, standing up to signal the meeting was over. "If it works as you say, we can talk about 30%. But you better keep your eye on the ball." To keep your eye on the ball means to stay focused on the main goal and not get distracted. It is another sports idiom. In baseball, tennis, or golf, if you look away from the ball for a split second, you will miss the shot. Marcus was warning them not to celebrate yet. "We will," Jason promised. They walked out of the office and back into the elevator. As the doors closed, Maya let out a huge breath and leaned against the wall. "I thought I was going to faint," she whispered. "We did it," Jason said, loosening his tie. "We survived." "We aren't done yet," Maya reminded him. "Now we have to prove the product works. We have to make sure everything is perfect for the technical review." "I know," Jason said. "I'll make sure everything is up to scratch." To be up to scratch means to be up to the required standard, satisfactory. This is also from boxing or racing. You had to stand at the scratch line to prove you were fit to compete. If you weren't up to scratch, you couldn't play. They walked out of the building. The sun was shining now, breaking through the Seattle fog. They had survived the pitch. They had played hardball with a shark and survived. But as they walked to the car, Jason realized that the real work was just beginning. It was Tuesday evening. For the last 2 days, things had been smooth sailing. "Let's look at this lovely idiom," smooth sailing. This, unsurprisingly, comes from the nautical world of sailing ships. When the wind is favorable and the sea is calm, the ship moves easily without bumping or struggling. In life and business, when we say something is smooth sailing, we mean that a process or project is progressing easily, without any problems or obstacles. Jason was checking the code, line by line, and Maya was preparing the final presentation decks. They were feeling confident. They looked at each other over their laptops and smiled. They thought the hard part was over. They thought they had survived the storm. But, as any experienced entrepreneur will tell you, the storm often comes when the sky looks bluest. On Wednesday night, Jason decided to run one final massive stress test on the app. He wanted to simulate 10,000 users logging in at the exact same moment. He sat back, cracked his knuckles, and pressed enter. He waited. 1 second, 2 seconds. Suddenly, the screen flashed red. Error messages began cascading down the monitor like a waterfall. The app crashed. Then his computer froze completely. The fan inside his laptop whirred loudly, sounding like a jet engine trying to take off. And then, silence. The screen went black. Jason felt a cold shiver go down his spine. He rebooted and tried again. Same result. Red lights. Crash. Silence. "Maya!" he shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "Maya, come in here! We have hit a snag!" To hit a snag means to encounter a minor problem or obstacle, often unexpected. The origin of this word is fascinating. In the 19th century in America, a snag was a tree or a large branch that was submerged underwater in a river. When steamboats traveled up the river, they couldn't see the jagged wood beneath the surface. If a boat hit a snag, it would rip a hole in the hull and sink. In the fabric world, a snag is when a sharp object pulls a thread in your sweater. In business, it's a problem that catches you by surprise. Maya ran into the room, holding a stack of papers. "What kind of snag?" she asked. "A small snag? A fixable snag?" Jason looked at the code. It wasn't just a minor snag, it was a catastrophe. "The database isn't syncing," Jason said, his face turning pale. "The architecture can't handle the load. If I can't fix this, the whole app is useless. It's broken, Maya. We might have to go back to the drawing board." This is a classic idiom, back to the drawing board. It is used when an idea, scheme, or project has failed completely, and you have to start all over again from the very beginning, the planning stage. The phrase became popular during World War II, thanks to a cartoon by an artist named Peter Arno in the New Yorker magazine. The cartoon showed a military engineer walking away from a crashed airplane, holding a set of blueprints under his arm, saying, "Well, back to the old drawing board." It implies a total restart. Maya stared at him, her eyes wide. "We can't go back to the drawing board, Jason. We don't have time to redesign the app. The technical review is in 48 hours. If we don't have a product on Friday, Marcus Vance will laugh us out of the city. Jason, we are in a pickle." To be in a pickle means to be in a difficult, messy, or troublesome situation. It's a somewhat funny phrase, but the feeling is not funny at all. The origin is debated. Some say it comes from the Dutch word pekkel, meaning brine, because if you are sitting in salty vinegar, you are in a bad state. Shakespeare was one of the first to use it in The Tempest. Jason and Maya were definitely in a pickle. "Okay," Maya said, taking a deep breath and forcing herself to be calm. "Don't panic. Panic doesn't write code. We just have to troubleshoot." To troubleshoot means to analyze and solve serious problems, usually technical ones. A troubleshooter was originally a man who worked on telegraph or telephone lines to find where the break was. How long will it take to fix? Jason rubbed his eyes. I don't know. If I rebuild the database from scratch, maybe 2 days. But that leaves no time for testing. It's going to come down to the wire. This is a very dramatic and common idiom, down to the wire. It refers to a situation where the outcome will not be decided until the very last moment. It comes from the world of horse racing. Before high-speed cameras, a wire was strung across the track directly above the finish line to help the judges see exactly which horse's nose crossed the line first in a close race. If a project comes down to the wire, you are working until the final second. Then we have to work, Maya said, rolling up her sleeves. Cancel your plans. Forget about sleeping. We are going to have to burn the midnight oil. To burn the midnight oil means to work or study late into the night. It dates back to the days before electricity, perhaps as far back as the 1600s. If you wanted to work after the sun went down, you had to burn expensive oil in your lamp. It implies dedication and sacrifice. Jason nodded. He knew he wouldn't be seeing his bed for a long time. They started working. Wednesday night turned into Thursday morning. The sun rose, but they didn't notice. Jason was rewriting thousands of lines of code, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Maya was researching solutions online, managing the server space, and keeping Jason fueled with strong coffee and snacks. They were exhausted. Their eyes were red, but they couldn't stop. They were running against the clock. To run against the clock, or sometimes to race against time, means to try to finish something quickly before a specific deadline. The clock is the enemy. You are racing it. By Thursday afternoon, the room smelled like stale coffee and anxiety. Jason was delirious. He slammed his hand on the desk in frustration. It's not working, he yelled. I fix one bug and 2 more appear. It's impossible, Maya. I can't fix it in time. I think I should just throw in the towel. To throw in the towel means to quit, surrender, or admit defeat. This comes directly from the sport of boxing. When a boxer is getting beaten so badly that he cannot defend himself, his coach will literally throw a towel into the ring to signal the referee to stop the fight. It is an act of mercy. Jason felt beaten. He wanted to stop the fight. Maya grabbed his shoulders and shook him gently. Listen to me, she said sternly. You cannot throw in the towel. We have come too far. We quit our jobs. We faced Marcus Vance. We are not quitting now. You are just tired. You need to take 5. To take 5 is a casual way of saying take a short break, usually 5 minutes. It's often used in theater or film rehearsals. Okay, everyone, take 5. Go wash your face, Maya ordered. Take 5. Walk around the block. Then come back. Jason did as he was told. He walked out into the cool Seattle air. He breathed deeply. He looked at the busy street, at the people rushing by. He realized he didn't want to go back to being a cog. He wanted to build this engine. He walked back inside, splashed cold water on his face, and looked in the mirror. He looked terrible, but his eyes were focused again. He went back to the desk. Okay, he said to Maya, Let's try a different approach. The standard fix isn't working. Let's think on our feet. To think on your feet means to react quickly and effectively to a problem without prior preparation. It implies improvisation. If you give a speech and your notes blow away, you have to think on your feet. Jason stopped following the textbook rules and started improvising. He tried a chaotic, messy solution that he hadn't thought of before. They worked through Thursday night. They decided to pull an all-nighter. To pull an all-nighter is a very common phrase among university students and hardworking professionals. It means to stay awake all night to study or work. You get 0 sleep. By 6 a.m. on Friday, the sun was coming up over the Space Needle. The meeting with Marcus Vance's technical team was at 9 a.m. Jason's eyes felt like they were filled with sand. He typed the final command. His hands were shaking so much he almost hit the wrong key. He pressed enter. He waited. The screen didn't flash red. It loaded. The progress bar moved from 10% to 50% to 100%. The database synced. It worked. Jason slumped back in his chair, exhaling a breath he felt he had been holding for 2 days. "We did it," he whispered, "but we are cutting it fine." To cut it fine, or in American English, to cut it close, means to do something with very little time or margin for error remaining. If the train leaves at 9 o'clock and you arrive at 8:59, you are cutting it fine. They had finished with only 3 hours to spare. Maya looked at the screen and smiled tiredly. "It's not pretty code," she said, "but it works. It will do the trick." If something will do the trick, it means it will achieve the required result. It might not be perfect, elegant, or expensive, but it is effective enough to solve the problem. "I don't have a screwdriver, but this coin will do the trick." "Go shower," Maya said. "Put on your suit. We have a meeting to get to." They arrived at the office of Marcus Vance at 8:55 a.m. They were running on caffeine, adrenaline, and pure willpower. They looked calm on the outside, but inside, they were nervous wrecks. The technical team, 3 serious men with thick glasses and expensive laptops, walked in. They didn't smile. "Let's see what you've got," the lead technician said, plugging a cable into the projector. Jason plugged in his laptop. He prayed the system wouldn't crash. He started the demo. For 20 minutes, the only sound in the room was the clicking of keyboards and the humming of the projector. Jason and Maya stood in the corner. They held their breath. They felt like they were walking on eggshells. To walk on eggshells means to be extremely careful about your words or actions because you are afraid of causing a problem or upsetting someone. It usually refers to dealing with an angry person, but here it referred to the fragility of their situation. They felt that one wrong move, one wrong click, would break everything, just like stepping on a fragile eggshell. Finally, the lead technician closed his laptop. He looked at Jason. Then he looked at Marcus Vance. "Well," Marcus asked, "is it up to scratch?" The technician paused. The code is a bit messy in places, he admitted. It looks like it was written in a hurry, but the architecture is solid. It works. It's scalable. Marcus turned to Jason and Maya. A slow, rare smile spread across his face. All right then, Marcus said. You delivered. It seems we have a deal. Let's sign on the dotted line. To sign on the dotted line means to formally agree to something by signing a legal document. Contracts usually have a dotted line at the bottom for the signature. It is the moment of final agreement. Jason felt a wave of relief wash over him, so strong he almost fell over. They had done it. They had survived the crisis. They had the money. Now we fast forward. 6 months have passed since Jason and Maya stood in that boardroom and signed the deal with Marcus Vance. They have survived the coding crisis. They have hired a team. They have moved out of Jason's living room and into a real office in the trendy South Lake Union District of Seattle. Today is the day. It is the day the app, now named Nexus, officially launches to the public. In this final block of our masterclass, we are going to learn the vocabulary of success. We will look at idioms for taking control, making money, leadership, and looking toward the future. It turns out that getting what you want brings a whole new set of challenges. It requires a different kind of language. The language of authority. Let's head over to the new headquarters of Nexus. The office was buzzing with energy. It was an open plan space with exposed brick walls and expensive ergonomic chairs. It was no longer just Jason and Maya eating takeout pizza. They had hired 20 full-time employees. There were balloons everywhere in the company colors of blue and silver, and a large digital countdown clock on the wall ticking down to 0. Jason stood on a chair to address the team. He looked out at the faces of the people who worked for him. He felt a surge of pride. He raised a glass of non-alcoholic champagne. "Everyone," he shouted over the noise, "can I have your attention? We have worked incredibly hard for this moment. Today is the day we take the world by storm." Let's analyze this powerful idiom, to take the world by storm. Sometimes we just say, take the country by storm, or take the market by storm. It means to become very successful, famous, or popular very quickly. It implies a sudden, powerful, and overwhelming impact, just like a violent weather storm that sweeps across the land. The Beatles took America by storm in the 1960s. The iPhone took the tech world by storm in 2007. Jason wasn't planning on a quiet, small release. He wanted to dominate the market immediately. Maya stood next to him, holding a tablet connected to the server analytics. She watched the clock hit 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. "The servers are live," she announced, her voice ringing out. "We are officially open for business." Within the first hour, the download numbers on the big screen started ticking up. First 100, then 1,000, then 10,000. It was happening faster than they had imagined. The marketing campaign Maya had designed was working perfectly. They had seen a gap in the market, and they had decided to strike while the iron is hot. To strike while the iron is hot means to take advantage of an opportunity immediately, before it passes. This idiom comes from the ancient trade of blacksmithing. A blacksmith heats iron in a fire until it glows red. In this state, the metal is soft and can be shaped into horseshoes or swords by striking it with a hammer. But as soon as the iron cools down, it becomes hard and impossible to shape. You must strike while it is hot. In business, this means acting quickly when the market conditions are perfect. Maya knew the economy was shifting toward freelance work right now. If they waited 6 months, the opportunity might cool down. They had to strike now. By the end of the week, the numbers were staggering. The app wasn't just popular, it was profitable. Advertisers were calling, subscriptions were pouring in. The app was becoming a cash cow. This is a specific business term, a cash cow. A cash cow is a business, product, or service that generates a steady, dependable stream of income with little maintenance. It produces milk, or cash, every day without much effort. The term was popularized by the Boston Consulting Group in the 1970s to describe a product with a high market share in a slow-growing industry. Every business owner dreams of having a cash cow because it funds everything else. Jason sat in his office, looking at the revenue report on his screen. The line on the graph was going straight up. It was music to his ears. When something is music to your ears, it means it is exactly what you wanted to hear. It brings you joy and relief. It could be good news, a compliment, or in Jason's case, the sound of success. The ding notification of a new subscriber was absolute music to his ears. But with success comes a shift in dynamics. Jason was no longer just a coder sitting in a dark room. He was the CEO. He had to learn how to call the shots. To call the shots means to be the person who makes the important decisions and controls the situation. The origin of this phrase is debated, but most linguists agree it comes from target practice, or billiards, also known as pool. In billiards, a skilled player must call their shot. They must announce which ball they will hit into which pocket before they shoot. It implies control, precision, and authority. Jason realized that everyone was looking to him for answers. Jason, should we hire more support staff? Jason, should we expand to Europe? Jason, what is our policy on remote work? He couldn't ask Mr. Sterling anymore. He was the one calling the shots. It wasn't easy. He had to manage new managers who were just learning the ropes. To learn the ropes means to learn the basics of how to perform a job or task. This is another nautical idiom. On large sailing ships in the past, there were hundreds of ropes that controlled the sails. A new sailor, or a landlubber, had to literally learn which rope did what. It took time. If you pulled the wrong rope, the ship could stop or crash. Jason had to be patient while his new team learned the ropes of the software industry. One afternoon, a new marketing manager named Brad came into Jason's office. Brad was ambitious, young, and aggressive. A bit like Jason used to be, but with less patience. He sat down without asking. "Jason," Brad said, leaning forward, "we need to pivot. I think we should change the entire user interface. The current one is too simple. It's boring. Let's shake things up and make it flashy." Jason looked at Brad. He looked at the user feedback reports on his desk. The users loved the current interface because it was simple. Jason shook his head calmly. "No, Brad, we are not doing that. The users are happy. Let's not rock the boat." To rock the boat means to disturb the balance or cause trouble by changing a situation that is currently satisfactory. Imagine a small rowboat on a lake. It is stable. If one person stands up and starts moving side to side, rocking the boat, everyone might fall into the water. In a corporate setting, if you rock the boat, you are challenging the status quo or causing unnecessary drama. Jason wanted stability. The company was growing well. He didn't want to rock the boat with risky changes just to be flashy. Brad looked annoyed. "But we need to innovate," he argued. Jason stood up. He wasn't aggressive, but he was firm. "We will innovate on features, not on design. That is my decision, Brad. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but right now, I'm in the driver's seat." To be in the driver's seat means to be in control of a situation or charge of a vehicle. It is a very American idiom reflecting the car culture. The person in the driver's seat controls the speed and the direction. Jason smiled internally as he said it. For 5 years, Mr. Sterling had been in the driver's seat of Jason's life. Now, Jason was steering his own car. Brad nodded, understanding the hierarchy. "Understood," he said, and left the office. A few months later, on the 1-year anniversary of their meeting at the diner, Jason and Maya were sitting in his office. They were looking out at the Seattle skyline. It was the same view Marcus Vance had, but now it was theirs. The rain was falling against the glass, but inside it was warm. "Can you believe it?" Maya asked, holding a mug of tea. "A year ago, we were eating cheap burgers and worrying about rent." "I know," Jason said. "We've come a long way. But honestly, Maya, I feel like this is just the beginning. We have users in 10 countries now. I think the sky is the limit." The sky is the limit is a wonderful, optimistic idiom that means there is no limit to what can be achieved. It implies infinite potential. Since the sky goes on forever, your success can go on forever too. Jason felt they could do anything. New apps, new countries, new technologies. Maya smiled, but she put a hand on his arm to ground him. "That's true," she said. "We can do anything. But let's make sure we keep our feet on the ground." To keep your feet on the ground, or to keep both feet on the ground, means to remain practical, sensible, and humble, even during times of great success or fame. It is the opposite of having your head in the clouds. Maya was the realist. She knew that companies often failed because founders became arrogant or spent too much money. She wanted to make sure they didn't get dizzy from the height. Jason nodded. "You're right. We stay humble. We keep working. We remember where we started." He looked at the clock. It was 8 p.m. They had been working since dawn. The office outside was quiet. Most of the employees had gone home. "You know what?" Jason said, stretching his arms. We aren't burning the candle at both ends anymore. We don't have to pull all-nighters to survive. Let's call it a day. To call it a day means to decide to stop working for the rest of the day. It is one of the most common workplace idioms you will ever hear. It implies that you have done enough work and it is time to rest. I'm tired. Let's call it a day. That, Maya said, grabbing her coat, is the best idea you've had all day. They turned off the lights in the office. They walked out past the rows of desks, past the glowing blue logo of their company on the wall. They took the elevator down to the street. The air was crisp and cool. Jason took a deep breath. He didn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders anymore. He had challenges, yes. He had deadlines. But they were his challenges. He had bitten the bullet. He had gone the extra mile. And now, finally, he was exactly where he wanted to be. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of the big break. What a journey! We have covered over 60 essential English idioms and collocations in the context of a business story. Think about what we learned in this final block. We saw Jason and Maya take the world by storm by deciding to strike while the iron is hot. Their app became a cash cow, and the profits were music to their ears. Jason had to transition into leadership and learn to call the shots while his staff was still learning the ropes. He had to manage conflict and refuse to rock the boat with risky changes, firmly establishing himself in the driver's seat. He believes the sky is the limit, but Maya reminded him to keep his feet on the ground. Finally, they decided to call it a day. Now here is your final and most important task for this series. I want you to adopt the mindset of success. Look at your English learning journey. You have come this far. You have listened to thousands of words of content. You are not a beginner anymore. I want you to say this sentence out loud with confidence. I want you to believe it. Shadow this. For my English fluency, the sky is the limit. Say it again. The sky is the limit. Thank you so much for listening to this masterclass series. Whether you are currently stuck in a rat race or you are already calling the shots, remember that language is the key that opens doors. It is the tool that allows you to negotiate, to lead, and to connect. Keep practicing these idioms. Use them in your emails. Use them in your meetings. Use them to tell your own story. This is Elena from English in Moments signing off. I am so proud of your progress. I'll see you in the next series. Bye for now.